Hello and welcome. My name is Dennis Westman, your instructor for this class, Database Management Systems. And what I wanted to talk a little bit about is Tutorial 1. And the way this is going to work is essentially I will go through and highlight some concepts in the chapter, and then this will kind of give you a guide as to how to work through the chapter, and then some potential tips on what might be included in an exam or something like that. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and grab your book and put me on pause if you have to go find it, and then we're going to take a moment to look at Tutorial 1, which begins on AC1. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Now, just as kind of to point out, here is the actual section that you're going to be looking at, is creating a database. And again, we're using Microsoft Office Access 2010, and this has changed from 2007, so you got to make sure that you're using the correct program. Let me point out a couple of things about the first page that will be helpful. It tells you at the bottom of the screen, and again, let me just show you, at the bottom of the screen right here, it tells you about the different data files that are going to be used or required for the assignments in that chapter. So I really like that. It kind of gives you a heads up as to what you're going to need for that chapter. On pages 2 and 3, the actual access screen is talked about. It's a visual overview of the document screen. I would pay careful attention to that. Now here's where we really get into the particulars. Look at page 4. I want to talk a little bit about the different types of elements in a database and some basic database concepts. So if you're following along in your textbook on page 4, one of the first items that are part of a database would be a field, and a field is defined as just an individual piece of data about someone. So you might have a first name field, a last name field, a telephone number field, an address field, city, state, zip field, those kinds of things. All of those fields together make up a record. Okay, so I would have like my record, your record, and your classmates' records. And then all of those related records make up a table that might be called Database Management Systems Students. Okay? And then that individual table joins with or could be part of other tables that would then become a database. So let's think about this again, okay? You have the individual element, the smallest element when we're talking about database concepts is a field. So you have a field, and then you have a collection of fields, which would be a record. A collection of records would be a table, and then a collection of tables would then make up a database. So fields, records, tables, and databases. It's very important that you understand those concepts, because that will pretty much be throughout the entire course. Understanding the basic database concepts of fields, records, tables, and databases. And so that's talked about on the top of page 4. And then also we're talking about at the bottom of that page something called relational databases, and that just simply means that a particular database element or record or table is related to another table in some way by some common characteristic. For instance, here at the college, your information is related to other tables in other offices throughout the campus by what? Well, what do you have to give every office whenever you register for a class, or whether you need to check your financial aid, or whether you need to go to the business office? Well, you're giving them some sort of student ID, social security number. That is the individual element, that common field that is used to allow us to pull up your information from various different tables. So you go to the financial aid office, they ask for your student ID. You go to the business office, they ask for your student ID. You go to the registrar's office, they ask for your student ID. That is the common field, and typically what that's called is a primary key, and that's talked about on page 5, kind of in the middle underneath the diagrams, is primary key. And that's just some common element that connects all of the individual records together. And so it's very important you understand that what a primary key or a common field is. It's unique. You know, you can't have more than one student with the same student ID. It's a unique number. You could have any number of students with the same last name. So that couldn't be a primary key because it is not unique. So a primary key is unique. It uniquely identifies an item in that particular record. So again, here at the college we use student ID for that. So that really is discussed on page 4 and 5. Fields, records, tables, databases, and then primary keys. Again, all about connecting or relating the databases together. Page 6 talks about relational database management systems, which is a program that actually manages the relationships between database management individual tables and so on. And Access, of course, is essentially a database management system. In this class, we're studying about databases, and we're using Access for ours. So that's talked about on page 6. Page 7, 8, and so on begins talking about the actual creation of databases, of tables, and everything. And as I've mentioned in your homework assignments, it's very important that you work through the chapter and work through the cream-colored yellowish boxes, because I believe I assigned that. Double check your assignments to make sure. But you'll need to be able to understand the chapter in order to work on the homework assignment. So pay very close attention and read all of the items there, and work through the areas. The yellow areas throughout the chapter really highlight what's important as well, and you'll see that scattered throughout. So again, the takeaways from the first tutorial, from the first chapter, would be this: understanding database concepts, which would be fields, records, tables, and databases, and then understanding the idea of how they're related together by some common field or some primary key, which would be like student ID, and then the program that manages all of that is a relational database management system, which would be something like Access. And then working through the chapter and kind of understanding how to get started with a basic database and a table and so on. So I hope that provides a great overview. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to post to the appropriate discussion forum. And of course, I'm always available via email that's posted throughout the course. Thank you, and have a great day.